They say you never know someone until you see them at their worst. For me, that moment came when my husband Marcus drove away, leaving me stranded in a remote village in Portugal. "Let's see how the control freak manages without me," he laughed to his friends as their rental car disappeared down the cobblestone street. I didn't come home for 6 months. When he finally tracked me down at a vineyard in Spain, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. The sun was setting over the terracotta rooftops of Aldea das Pedras when my marriage effectively ended. We'd been arguing outside a small cafe, the kind with plastic chairs and local wine served in unmarked bottles. I'd suggested that maybe Marcus had enough to drink after his 4th glass. That's when his college friends started goading him. "Dude, she's always got you on a leash," Jake snickered. Ordering another round for the table, I'd only been invited to this boys' reunion because Marcus had promised we'd extend it into a second honeymoon. 7 years of marriage, and all I'd wanted was a few days to reconnect after he'd spent months consumed by his latest architectural project. "I'm going back to the hotel," I announced, grabbing my crossbody bag. The argument escalated quickly. 7 years of this shit, Naomi. 7 years of you micromanaging every damn thing I do." "I'm not micromanaging, I'm caring about you not making a fool of yourself," I hissed back. Before I could process what was happening, Marcus was sliding into the driver's seat of our rental car. His 3 friends piled in, all of them laughing like teenagers. "Figure it out yourself since you're so capable," he called through the open window. "Maybe some time alone will teach you that you don't always know best." Jake leaned out the window as they pulled away. "Let's see how the control freak manages without her credit cards." I stood frozen as the taillights disappeared around a corner. Marcus had taken everything: our hotel key, our rental car, my credit cards that he'd offered to carry in his wallet earlier. All I had was my phone, passport, and 65 euros in cash. I tried calling repeatedly, straight to voicemail. When I checked my text messages, I discovered the truth. All blocked. This wasn't a spontaneous drunken decision. This was coordinated humiliation. By midnight, I'd found the cheapest room available, a cramped attic space above a bakery. I spent that night cycling between rage, panic, and disbelief. I'd given up a promising career in landscape architecture to support Marcus's ambitions, managing our home in Seattle, while he built his reputation designing eco-friendly high-rises. I'd coordinated our social calendar, maintained relationships with his clients, edited his proposals, all while ignoring how he slowly isolated me from my own friends and dreams. And this was my reward, abandoned in a foreign country as a joke. 3 days later, standing before a cramped pawnshop window, I twisted off my wedding ring, the 3-carat emerald-cut diamond Marcus had insisted on upgrading from my original modest band. The shopkeeper offered me far less than it's worth, but enough to fund whatever came next. At the bus station, my finger hovered over my father's contact. One call, and he'd wire money for a flight home. One call, and I'd return to the life I'd built. Or rather, the life that had been built around me. "Where do you go?" asked the ticket agent, an older woman with kind eyes. "Spain," I answered, the decision crystallizing as I spoke. "The farthest coastal town you can get me to." The Spanish sun beat down mercilessly as I wandered beyond the outskirts of Costa del Alma. My water bottle had emptied hours ago, and dehydration made the world tilt around me. The vineyards stretched like waves of green across the rolling hills, their grape-laden vines shimmering in the heat. I barely registered when my knees buckled beneath me. "Dios mío, señorita," a woman's voice cut through my haze. An elderly face swam into focus, deep lines etched around concerned eyes. She introduced herself as Isabella, offering a canteen of water. "Naomi," I whispered weakly. Isabella helped me to my feet, guiding me toward a stone farmhouse nestled among the vineyards. The kitchen welcomed me with the scent of herbs hanging from wooden beams and something savory bubbling on an ancient stove. She called out to someone, and moments later, an elderly gentleman with a sun-darkened face and silver beard appeared. "Matteo," Isabella said, pointing to him. That evening passed in a blur of broken communication. I tried to explain my situation through limited Spanish words, hand gestures, and eventually tears. They offered me their spare room, a simple space with whitewashed walls and a narrow bed covered by a handmade quilt. In the morning, I found clean clothes folded at the foot of my bed. Isabella beamed at my appearance. immediately serving strong coffee and fresh bread with olive oil and local honey. Through broken English and the translation app on my phone, I attempted to convey my gratitude and intention to return to the village. Isabella's face fell immediately. She shook her head vigorously, pointing outside where rain pattered against the windows. Then to my still blistered feet. "Stay," she insisted. "Rest." Over the next 3 days, I made several attempts to leave, each met with gentle resistance. Once, with my bag in hand, Isabella intercepted me at the door. She took my hand and led me to a small wooden box on the mantel, opening it to reveal photographs. Her fingers trembled as she pointed to a young woman with Isabella's eyes and Matteo's smile. "Carmen," she said softly, then pointed far away. "Londres? London." Her eyes filled with tears as she made a cradling motion with her arms. "Nieta," she managed in English. "Grandbaby, no C." I understood then. Isabella saw in me a surrogate for her absent daughter. Rather than feeling manipulated, my heart ached for her loss. I nodded slowly and returned my bag to the hook by the door. Each day brought new routines as I gradually integrated into their vineyard life. Isabella showed me how to test grapes for ripeness, how to hang laundry. Matteo taught me to identify the different varieties they grew. The work was physical, nothing like my carefully curated life in Seattle, but satisfying in ways I'd forgotten existed. 2 weeks after my arrival, Isabella sat beside me as we sorted grapes. She studied my face before asking slowly, "Home? You want to go home?" She made a plain motion with her hand, then pointed toward America. The question hit me with unexpected force. Home. The word conjured our sleek Seattle townhouse with its designer furniture. It also brought Marcus's controlling behavior into sharp focus, his helpful management of our finances that left me without independent access, his subtle discouragement of my friendships, his dismissive attitude toward my career aspirations. "Work," I said carefully, mimicking Matteo tending the vines. "I stay. I work." Isabella's smile bloomed like the sunrise. She nodded, squeezing my hand before returning to the grapes, as if we'd just agreed to something as simple as tomorrow's menu rather than a complete redirection of my life. My decision to stay marked the beginning of my education in viticulture. Each day brought improvement, my technique refined, my strength building, my hands toughening. Within weeks, I could work alongside them for hours without complaint. After 3 months, Isabella approached me with Matteo at her side. They led me to the small building where they fermented and bottled their wine, showing me their modest inventory. "Mercado," Isabella announced, pointing to the calendar. "You come." The village market bustled with activity. Isabella and Matteo set up their simple table, arranging bottles of ruby red and golden white wines. To my surprise, they positioned me at the front of the table, encouraging me to speak with customers. As the market closed, Isabella handed me an envelope containing euros. "Your part," she said simply. "Fair work, fair pay." I stared at the modest sum, perhaps enough for a single meal at the restaurants Marcus and I had frequented. Yet this money represented something I hadn't possessed in years: independence earned through my own labor. As I integrated into village life, Elena, the weaver whose stall stood beside ours at the weekly market, became a particular friend. Our conversations, conducted in my improving Spanish and her excellent English, ranged from business strategies to village gossip, to more personal reflections. "You never speak of America," she observed one afternoon. "Family there? Friends?" "My parents are still in Chicago, a few friends, but..." I trailed off, realizing how Marcus had gradually isolated me from my support network. Elena nodded knowingly. "The husband who left you in Portugal, you never say his name." "Marcus," I said, the syllables feeling foreign on my tongue after months of silence. "And he never searched for you?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I haven't checked my email." Elena's raised eyebrow challenged me. Perhaps time to look. Not for him, for you, to close the door properly. That evening, I powered up my phone and logged into my long-neglected email account. Hundreds of unread messages filled the screen. Scanning the senders, I spotted several from old friends, their subject lines evolving from casual check-ins to concerned inquiries. A thread from my former professor caught my eye. Remote consulting opportunity. Opening it revealed she'd recommended me for a position with a sustainable landscape design company. Before I could consider this unexpected bridge to my former life, another email sender froze my fingers. Marcus Davis, with the subject line, "I know where you are." The timestamp showed it had arrived just hours earlier. "Naomi, it's taken months and a private investigator, but I finally tracked you to that backwater in Spain. This has gone on long enough. I'm coming to bring you home and end this ridiculous tantrum. My flight lands in Madrid on Thursday. Be ready, 3 days from now." I stumbled downstairs, the phone clutched in my hand. Isabella looked up from the account ledger, her smile fading as she registered my expression. "Bad news from America?" she asked gently. "Marcus," I managed. "He's coming here, Thursday." Isabella's eyes narrowed slightly. She reached beneath the ledger and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table. Good timing then. Was waiting for the right moment. Inside, I found legal papers bearing my name alongside Isabella and Mateo's, written in Spanish with English translations. "Partnership agreement," Isabella explained. "1/3 business. Years now, not the future. Now." Tears blurred my vision as I stared at the document. Not just employment or apprenticeship, but legitimate partnership. Not charity, but earned recognition. "You choose what happens Thursday," Isabella said firmly. "You have a home here, business here, friends here. That man, he no longer decides." The following days passed in preparation, not the kind Marcus would expect. I visited Lucia, the village's only lawyer, who helped me draft divorce papers. I contacted my former professor, accepting the remote consulting opportunity that would allow me to combine my landscape architecture training with my new viticulture knowledge. Thursday arrived with a perfect Spanish summer sky. I was in the wine cellar when the unfamiliar sound of a rental car engine broke the afternoon quiet. "He is here," Isabella said simply. Heart hammering, I stepped outside. Marcus stood beside a sleek black sedan, designer sunglasses perched on his perfectly coiffed hair, examining the humble farmhouse with visible distaste. "Marcus," I called, my voice calmer than expected. He turned, shock registering on his face as his eyes traveled from my work boots to my sun-browned arms, lingering on my unstyled hair. "My God, Naomi, what happened to you?" The familiar disapproving tone that once would have sent me scrambling now merely washed over me like a wave against rock. "Life happened," I replied. "What are you doing here, Marcus?" "I've come to take you home, of course. This has gone on long enough, don't you think? Whatever point you were trying to make." "This isn't about making a point," I interrupted. "This is about making a life." Behind me, Isabella and Mateo emerged from the house, positioning themselves within view, silent guardians ready to intervene if needed. "Are these the people you've been staying with?" Marcus asked. "Have they been holding you here?" "They've been teaching me about winemaking, about community, about kindness without conditions. I'm part owner now. I have a business here." "A business? Naomi, be serious. You're a landscape architect, not a farmer. This is what some eat, pray, love phase after our fight. I admit I shouldn't have left you in Portugal. It was a stupid, drunken mistake. Now it's time to come home." "Why did you even look for me, Marcus?" "It's been months. Why now?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Your parents have been calling. Friends asking questions. Clients wondering why you're not at the house when they visit. It looks bad for your image," I finished for him. "Our reputation," he corrected sharply. "Our life together. The one we built over 7 years of marriage." "The one you built," I countered. "The one where I gradually became nothing more than an accessory to your success." Isabella approached then, pressing the partnership agreement into my hand. I unfolded the document and held it toward Marcus. "I have legal ties here now. A business partnership. Responsibilities to people who value me for my contributions, not my appearance or social connections." I reached into my pocket for the envelope Lucia had prepared. "These are divorce papers, Marcus. Already filed, with provisions for division of assets." He stared at the envelope. "You can't be serious. You'd throw away everything for this?" "I'm not throwing away anything," I said. "I'm choosing something better, something real." I placed the envelope in his rigid hand. "You left me, Marcus. You drove away laughing. You just never expected I'd find my way without you." Mateo stepped forward then, placing a weathered hand on my shoulder. He said something in Spanish to Marcus, his tone firm but not unkind. What did he say? Marcus asked. His voice smaller now. He said the road back to Madrid is dangerous after dark. You should leave now to reach the city before nightfall. Marcus looked between us, finally registering that this wasn't a negotiation or a rescue, but a goodbye. Without another word, he returned to his rental car, the divorce papers clutched in his hand. As the vehicle disappeared down the dirt road, Isabella slipped her hand into mine. Together, the three of us turned toward the house, my house now too. The evening's work awaited. My husband had once abandoned me in a foreign country, assuming I'd be helpless without him, assuming I'd come crawling back once I'd learned my lesson. Instead, I'd found fertile ground to plant new roots, stronger and deeper than he could have imagined. Sometimes the cruelest actions yield the greatest gifts. Trying to break me, Marcus had accidentally set me free.